Hello, hello, and welcome to the village.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome to the village. I'm your girl, Dr. Roz, CEO and founder of the Village Leadership Group, LLC.
And you know who I am, but I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Coach Williams. I'm the content supervisor for the Village Leadership Group, LLC.
Yes, thank you so much for joining the village today. We are all about encouraging, inspiring, and motivating teachers, especially our teacher leaders.
So I want them a little bit more.
Right. Now, yes, we cater to our teacher leaders, but this conversation is not just for teacher leaders, but it's also for principals, school leaders, district leaders. So we want you guys to join the discussion because today we're talking about getting our parents involved. That's right. We're asking the question, where are our parents? And too often we talk about parental involvement, but we don't know how to get them engaged. So join the discussion. Well, wait, before we talk about parental involvement, we gotta talk about our book.
Oh. You know it.
There it is. So cute. All right, so again, we've been talking about it, but it is almost done. But we just want to keep giving you a little tease. Our book is coming out, Set Your Team on Fire, the 3 Elements of a Professional Learning Community by yours truly, Dr. Roz and Coach Williams. Ooh, yes.
We know they're going to get it. I know they will.
I know y'all are waiting to get your hands on this book. But within this book, we're going to be talking about the 3 elements that fuel oxygen and heat. The 3 things that you need to set a fire. You also need 3 things to make sure that your school is on fire, that your team is on fire, that your teachers are on fire. Woo. So we're going to talk about making sure that everyone knows their why, their purpose, that they're structured, that their school is structured as a PLC, a professional learning community, and that you are empowering your teachers to be leaders. You'll find out more once you get the book.
I was going to say, you're going to tell them all the secrets.
No. All right, so back to today's discussion. It's all about parental involvement. But listen, we have an expert. We always invite our village elders to join the discussion. So today we have a new village elder. She is Josette. We're going to invite her to come on. Welcome to the village.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, Josette.
So, Josette, first of all, we want you to introduce yourself to the village. They want to know, who are you? And then also give us one tip or one thing that we need to know about engaging our parents.
Okay, so hey, village. Thank you so much, Dr. Roz and Coach. My name is Josette Evans. I'm the founder and CEO of a nonprofit called Metamorphosis Powerhouse Company, where we turn everyday places into public learning classrooms. And one major tip that I would say about engaging parents is know when parents gotta be with the kids doing dinner. Don't be inviting them to things that they cannot come to. We have to be really intentional on the ways that we engage our parents, especially in the new normal. So many of our parents are working, but also really spread thin when it comes down to all of the things that we are now having to overcome, right? We know that learning loss is a huge issue right now. And so when I'm listening to parents and teachers, one of the things that keeps coming up is the overwhelm that they're feeling when it comes down to being inundated with information, right? So what does that need to really look like? How can we engage them in hybrid ways? Can we engage them in person as well as offering a virtual option, right? Can we be intentional when it comes down to what information we are releasing at one particular time? If we know that there's a calendar of events, are we nickeling and diming them in the email and then complaining that they didn't show up? Or are we intentional in saying, okay, for this month, we know that there's 4 events. Let's get it to them as early as possible. And then that way they can plan their lives and their children's activities. Because, as parents, we don't really have a life. Our children control our calendar, right? Can we be where we need to be, right? But also take care of home. And so I would definitely say my number one tip is just being intentional and keeping the end in mind, keeping our parents as our target audience in mind when we want to engage them and really setting a proper understanding of what that engagement needs to look like for them, right? Because we are looking to serve them. So asking them the right questions of what time would work for you? How would you like us to engage you? What does it look like for you to be able to show up? Do we need to adjust the time? Do we need to adjust the place? Is there a better place? Is there, community partners that might be able to offer different services? I know for me, I'm a parent that is stretched across different decades. So I know I look like I'm 12, but we have a college student who's 20. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, right?
Oh, wow.
And so that looks very different for me in ways that I need to show up for different children. So I might need someone to be, intentional enough to think that maybe I need some activity for my 4-year-old so I can really be present for a meeting for my 8-year-old.
I really like that, tapping into and kind of taking a survey, a pulse check almost of what your parents need. We do that all the time. We check in with our teachers, we check in with our students, but checking in with our parents to see, how can we also serve them and be inclusive? I love that.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome. And I see my girl, Dr. Houston, for jumping. Thanks for jumping on. Again, we're talking about involving our parents. We want to know, where are our parents? We talk about parents are our partners. We hear that a lot. Parents are our partners. Parents are our partners. But you said it, Josette. The first thing we need to do is be intentional. We can't complain that the parents aren't showing up if we're not being intentional about inviting them and making sure that they have the space and they feel welcome to come to our schools, to come, be engaged in what's happening in our school building. So the first step is to be intentional. And so what does that look like, Josette? I'm gonna ask you too, Coach Williams. What does that look like? I heard you say making sure we have a calendar and we invite them way in advance to all of these different programs. What does that look like when we talk about parents are our partners and we're going to be intentional about inviting our parents to our school? What does that look like?
I know for us within our organization, partnering with different schools, being intentional also means that different parents have different needs. So I know for us as an organization, we are trying to do our very best to pulse check with our parents that have differently abled children, right? What does it look like to engage a parent who might have a child that is special needs, might need an ADA compliance offering, might need to have access to something at a different part of the day? Asking those questions, but being very intentional on who that parent is. And then on top of that, making sure that we don't shy away from the hard, topics. So are you valuing what I'm offering, right? Being able to not just offer a solution, but take a pause and say, okay, now that you're here, if we have a relationship already, how have we been doing so far? We might need to pivot. We might need to, go right or left, adjust some things. Giving parents the opportunity instead of at the end, right? Giving them the opportunity in the beginning, maybe to even co-design that offer with you. And then in the middle, be able to do like a mid checkpoint. Hey, so how are you feeling about this? What are your needs currently? Are we hitting the mark? What does that need to look like going forward? And so we do a lot of pulse checking with families and the educators that we support routinely through our programming, but it's really just treating people like you want to be treated, having those conversations where it's a collaboration, not me dictating to you what we're going to do.
Awesome. And one of the things too about being intentional, I'm gonna get Coach Williams to talk about this. How do you get to know your school community? Like, how do you get to know your parents and their needs and what their interests are? I'm gonna ask you. Coach Williams.
A couple of things pop into my mind. I taught in North Carolina, and we used to do a thing where we would kind of do a progress report meeting, parent conference, but we took it to the community. So we would do it at the local elementary school, at the local library. And so the teachers, we would all commute, right, into our community. And we got so much feedback from that, right? So meeting people where they are. And then I think about the school I'm at now, we have a high ESOL population. And I like to think I'm bilingual, but I really am not. But understanding and making sure that I have that translator available. So many parents are so relieved when I ask them translator, and they're like, yes, because they want to communicate. They want to advocate for their kids and be in the loop and in the know, right? And then my third point, I know I had a lot of stories.
Go ahead.
This is good.
I also coordinate with the evening school, and our evening school population are kids who did not do well during the day. They had some setbacks, and a lot of times they get that negative connotation that they don't, they're not good in school, and that the parents maybe don't care. But I had a lovely interaction with a parent because I was trying to re-engage that kid, and I was calling every number, right? And I got to mom, and mom was like, I didn't even know anything about the program. So now we have a standing date that we talk and just kind of connect, and I showed her how to check in on things. So a lot of times our being intentional is just going that extra mile. That's not in my job description. It is. We always hear, we're in the people game, right? And that is how we need to do. You said it best. Treat people how you want to be treated. You would want somebody to call you, track you down about your baby, right?
That's right. I love what you touched on when you said not only bringing the resource so that access can happen, right, in the form of a translator, but then also when you talked about the fact that you didn't cease at that first barrier. You just kept trying to figure out, okay, I know that this parent loves their child. I want to engage this parent and this student, and you were able to finally reach them. And then it was really I didn't know. And so many times I feel like that is what's happening. A lot of parents just don't know. And, we sometimes as educators and educating support folks in the community, because we want to do so well, sometimes when we don't see the engagement right off, we might misinterpret that as disinterest, when really that's not it. Sometimes it's a skill versus a will situation, right? A lot of people have the will to show up, but maybe they don't have the tools. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't have access to the information in the ways that they're looking for the information, right? And what does that look like for all of us to show up for them? I know for us, as an organization that supports several counties, when COVID hit, because our framework was using public spaces, we decided that we just had to do better. So in our engagement model, instead of expecting people to come to us, we decided that we are doing a roadshow. We're doing a zip code roadshow. And so right now, when we are doing all of our programs, we're using that time and that space to go zip code by zip code and have those conversations. We're surveying the community. We are creating a mobile academic classroom on wheels right now. And it's so that when you're out of school but still need that extra time, you might need some extra credits. You might need some, career readiness or college readiness. Instead of expecting you to come to us, we're going to come to you. We're going to come to you where you are, so that those barriers are reduced. Because again, it's one of those skill versus will. People, I believe, want to succeed. What that looks like for them looks different across, many different aspects. But if you take the time to ask the questions, and if you take the time to get to know people on their level, then you can find out how to help them, and then you can co-create the solution together.
I love it. And one of the things too, you kind of hit on it, is empowering our parents as well. Like you said, if they want to be involved and they're just not sure how, then making sure that you're meeting with them and giving them specific tasks, or answering questions, or providing a resource room, or having someone in that building who will welcome the parents and say, hey, thanks for coming, and this is how you can support us. So just little things like that and making sure that parents feel welcome. And so we want to empower our parents as well. You want to talk about that? You want to say talk about it?
You know, I got a big mouth. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Coach.
Coach, go ahead. You've been giving us some great nuggets.
This is a safe space. But you know, when we start saying about empowering our parents, I was just sitting here and I was thinking about two parents kind of popped into my head. I had this one, it's actually an aunt, she was the guardian. And when I tell you, Auntie was on it. Every Sunday, I knew she would be checking in with that child, right? And then I had another parent who was like, oh, it was progress reports. Y'all had report cards, that happened. And
from one extreme to the
and I was like, yes, we have report cards. You don't know that, you know. And I really was upset, like, you know, you went there and I said, well, hold up, let me stop. And I said, hey, do you know about the assessments? Do you know about this online platform? The parent had no idea. They had never logged in. So taking a step back and actually kind of giving them some prompts like, hey, this is a suggestion. One of my other parents, they do this. So kind of linking them up and being able to support them. And sometimes having that conversation, going a step further and taking those personal feelings out. Like every week I'm putting in my grade and you have no idea. Really? You're not even but you know, they just didn't know. And I think a lot of our parents, they need almost a guide. Like we give our students guided notes. We give them practice. We model it for them. But do we really model for our parents on a way to really check in with their students? As teachers, we know, right? But our parents, they don't. So that's good. Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
all good points. No, I mean, she nailed it. All good points. I think when it comes down to within the schools, I love partnering with schools that have either like a parent liaison or someone who is a dedicated coach or community partner, where there's that extra safe space for parents to go when they need additional resources. Sometimes what we're also finding, especially with the pandemic, is life is lifing, right? So I want to show up. Hey, I want to come to the PTO meeting, but life is lifing, and are my immediate needs met, right? Do I have the gas to get to where you are? Does my shift job allow me to get off? And did I have adequate notice, right? And so I love what you're saying about how we as providers and educators have to also not take it personal and see that, you know, in all of this, we all want the same thing, which is for the children to do well, the students to excel, right? And what parent doesn't want their child to be successful? We just need to figure out what their motivation is and what their barrier is and help them figure out what it looks like to reduce or remove that. We got folks in the chat. Hey, Cheryl.
I know that's right.
Awesome. So one of the things you kind of talked about the PTSO or PTA as well, and that's something that we always tell our parents to get involved with that as well. So that's another thing to think about. How does that play into it as well?
I always think about high school. You know, you get the PTA, the PTSO. They are really active in elementary school. They are go-getters. It's those same people. They went to high school, you know. And sometimes, as parents, you know, they were like, "They're in high school. They got it now." That's what we need. Like all hands on deck.
Yes. I think if we provided, and parents, let us know if I'm on point with this, because what I knew that I needed, and I told you I'm old, and my high schooler is now in college, but I have two more coming up. And sometimes navigating that weird space of adolescence to puberty for our middle school parents is a resource that we could be thinking about. What does it look like when your child is not a baby, they're not grown, they got all of these emotions, you're trying not to kill them, and you're trying to make sure that they're doing their homework? Who is stepping in the gap for the parent to navigate what it looks like to show up and build their confidence in talking about really important topics at home, talking about things that could be impacting that child's life. And we know that when it comes down to middle school and then even high school, what does it look like for these parents to have conversations early on about getting ready for the SAT, the PSAT, where are you going to go to school? I run into a lot of parents who, even if they aren't formally educated and never went through the college process, that's not what they want for their child. But they might not even know what it looks like to help their child to, be ready early enough to do scholarships. Right. I'm all for y'all got a Facebook group, and I'm doing it because having that circle of trust and support where you know that you're not alone, where you know that, hey, you got a seventh grader and you're not the only person, like, what in the world, right? Means everything. It means everything. And then, when it comes down to even conversations around school choice, there's so many different options. I've found a lot of parents asking, well, what does it look like to homeschool versus having different options in public school versus private versus charter, and then connecting them to those types of resources. We routinely connect with groups like Georgia Can or the local school districts so that we can put parents in the position to ask those questions with subject matter experts. So I'm really, really excited to connect with you because now I can send them your way too.
Bring them on. Come on, parents, we got your back.
Exactly. Love it.
They are good people.
Thank you. Well, this is good because so too often we kind of say parents don't want to get involved, but they do.
They do.
Make sure that as school leaders, as teachers, that we are welcoming and we are inviting and we're being intentional about inviting our parents and communicating with our parents. I know Josh Tovar was on here earlier, and he's big on Twitter and social media. So if our parents are on social media, then we need to also be on social media to make sure that we're communicating what's happening in our schools, to make sure that our parents are aware so that they can be more involved and more engaged. So that is another way of being intentional about
we got some ways.
Yes.
Teacher leaders, get with this.
Yeah. So Josette, any final advice or tips for how school districts and school leaders can be intentional about getting their parents more involved?
Mm.
I say take the layered approach. Don't stop asking. Don't stop engaging from the very beginning of school throughout the summer. Continue those touch points because consistent communication means consistent feedback. And I personally believe that feedback is a gift. Whether you hear something that is highlighting something that could be better, or your glows and your bros, all of that helps determine your next steps. And so, I still say going back to just being intentional, having a lot of touch points in a myriad of different ways. You guys just talked about the importance of social media. I know a lot of school districts also use the one call and the text messages and the calling posts. All of those things are needed, but then doing something with the data, right? People want to know that once they've given you the feedback, that you are actually doing something with it. So not just asking me a zillion questions and then I never find out what you did with that, right? If I told you I wanted after school, if I told you, yes, I want, PTA on Wednesday, am I seeing the results of that feedback going into fruition and having some action behind it, right? So, meeting that talk with the walk is also really, really important in engagement.
Awesome. Great. Woo, y'all, I hope you guys took some notes on how to engage our parents. Stop complaining that the parents aren't involved.
That's right.
It could be that you're not doing the work to make sure that they are involved, okay? So, where are the parents? They waiting on you to invite them and to engage them, all right? So, thank you so much, Josette. Tell us a little bit more about your nonprofit and how people can reach out to you.
Sure. So Metamorphosis Powerhouse Company, we're headquartered in McDonough, Georgia, and Henry, but we support 8 counties across the state. And we're really excited to take on our mobile academic classroom design survey right now for all of the parents out there and educators who might be in the Henry County area this Saturday. Dr. Ross, tell them this Saturday.
This Saturday.
This Saturday. We are doing a book giveaway at the Henry County Learning Center. Okay, so literacy, we always say the book is the hook. Okay, we are giving away books. We're also popping up with United Way. They're doing a mobile food bank. So I'm encouraging all of the parents and the teachers watching. Come get books for your home library. Come get books for your mobile. For your classrooms. While you're there, we want to hear from you. We want to hear the feedback of what you would like our mobile academic classroom to look like. We want to know, hey, do you want dry erase tables? Are we doing tablets? Are we doing Chromebooks? We want to know what type of programming do you need where you live? All of those questions and more are on our very short survey. And the first 100 people who participate in our survey, we are saying thank you to you for your time by giving you a $10 Amazon e-gift card. So come get your books. Come tell us what you think about this mobile academic classroom. And we always love hearing from the community. So we definitely welcome you to let us know what's happening in your zip code as we continue to turn everyday places into public learning classrooms. We are on social media at Medink Power Co. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I am me on Facebook. I am Josette H. Evans. You will see my face. I'm a real person. I love connecting with people. What you see is what you get. So, there's no pretenses here. We just loving on the community, and we want to co-design what those solutions need to look like. And so we welcome any feedback that you have on the ways that we can support you where you live.
Awesome. I love it. So thank you so much for all that you are doing.
Thank you for having me. This was fun, y'all.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining the village. And listen, if y'all can't find her on all of those social media platforms that she mentioned, you can find her here within the village.
That's right.
See you next time, Josette.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Ooh, that was another good one.
I liked it.
So,
Parent and re-engage.
be engaged with the parents. Okay, stop complaining. Are you intentional about getting your parents more involved? Making sure that you do what it takes to get your parents involved and updated.
Mm-hmm.
You have to communicate with your parents.
What do you want?
Right,
Do that.
ask the parents what they need. All right, so again, thanks for joining the village. Continue to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Village LG. And remember, teacher leadership is a mindset,
Not a position.
See you next time.
Bye, y'all.